All right, hello everybody. Welcome or welcome back. Sorry, let me move the mic. My necklace is gonna hit it. Okay. Y'all, this week has been crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Also, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out this setup. I think I might actually stick. I kind of like this setup. Ignore that pile of junk over there. Essentially, this week has been, what I was saying was this week has been absolutely fucking crazy. There's been so many signs from God this week that honestly, I like don't even know what to deal with. I went camping this week. This week marked my birthday, but it also, more importantly, marked a 20-year anniversary of someone very close to me who had passed away, whose death, if I'm going to be honest, I never processed. Also, why am I starting this reading with this story? I never start readings with stories. That's so, anyways. Okay, someone needs this. Obviously, someone needs this. I forgot to crack the window. Back. Sorry, y'all. I guess that's just your reminder then that if you're clearing energy, make sure that you crack the window when you burn your smoke to get all that energy and gunk out of there. I haven't cleared the energy in this room in actually a pathetically long time, and I'm not even going to say how long, because one of the things I harp on is clearing your energy, and I haven't done that in the past probably 2 weeks, which for me is a very, very long time. I know there's people who do it longer, but I do readings almost every day. So for me to be like, not have this space cleared is really, really rare. Anyways, there was just a lot of synchronicities, right? I've seen animals that I haven't seen, despite having gone to the same area and gone camping in this same area multiple times. I saw animals I haven't seen in literally years since this person was alive. I had experiences that I hadn't had basically since this person was alive. It was just such an interesting and validating time during a time where I've been really questioning a lot of things. I've been questioning spirit. I've been questioning a lot of things. Maybe that's actually what I was supposed to get to. Maybe this collective, you've been questioning things. And if that's the case, what I would tell you right now is to ask for a sign, and be aggressive about it. Don't kid yourself. Like, I literally kind of had a breakdown a few weeks ago where I was like, listen, I don't believe none of y'all. Like, you're all you spiritual people and all you spirits and ancestors, and you're all claiming you're here, and what the F are you doing? And then of course I go away and I have all these really synchronous. Okay. English is a difficult language, folks. Synchronous events. It was just crazy. So anyways, maybe that's part of the message. Maybe y'all need to get out more, get outside, connect to nature more, get away from technology, and do all that. So I haven't even done my prayer yet, and I'm just over here blabbing about for 5 minutes. All right, quick prayer, and let's get right into this. Smoke is going to be smoking its thing, so just bear with it, please, and thank you. Okay. I've been really drawn to this deck, but the problem is I'm not actually very confident with this deck because it's just got a very different system, and this deck also doesn't have reversals. So let me just move this a little bit. Sorry. I'm getting smoked out here. Thanks, Sage. Thank you to the Spirit of Sage, the Spirit of White Sage, and Black Sage that are both, I'm burning both of them. I think I also have some Angel Sage that's in there too, but I don't know if that got lit up. Because yes, I do mix all the sages together Anyways, this deck, I've just been drawn to it. This deck does not have reversals for this deck, but here we are. And also I might need to reference the book because I forget. I still don't have with this deck all the like the Weaver, the like the crossovers. I don't have those memorized. Right? I don't remember like the boons. The boons is, I think, Earth. Boons is Pentacles. Visions, I think, is Air. Anyways, deal with it as it comes for this collective. Bottom of deck. Okay. Let's okay. Okay. Visions is Cups. I'm only realizing that with the 7 of Visions card. So I'm not really sure what it is. Spells must be air. Is spells air? Spells, I think, might be air, and then challenges is fire. Look at, okay. I'm going to take the imagery predominantly because, like I said, I'm not 100% comfortable with this deck. This collective, what I'm getting here is you've spent a lot of time not looking at certain situations. You've spent a lot of time kind of in the past, okay, not really wanting to address certain problems, right? Not wanting to address certain things that came out. And there's this shift that's been occurring where you've actually been working really, really hard to build and create the life that you want to build and create. The problem is that you're not trusting your own choices. You're not trusting the things that come up in front of you. There's choices you make and you don't actually have a lot of trust. There's a lot of nervousness with this collective. There's a lot of this energy of, how do I even describe this? There's a lot of this just like uncertainty with this collective that I feel. You're not really sure where to go. You're not really sure which path you should take. There's a bit of this stagnant energy that's underneath it all, where this collective is really going, oh, I'm not really sure what I want to do or how I want to do it. Okay. There's a lot of this like, yeah, suspension. Okay. This is I believe the Hangman in traditional tarot, and it's this feeling of stagnancy. It's this feeling of you need to view things and view yourself differently, because you're not trusting yourself. There's this core lack of trust that I'm getting with this collective. You're not trusting yourselves. You're not trusting your guides. You're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting spirit. That's why I started the story, this reading with a story, because of the lack of trust with spirit. This collective, you need to ask for signs and synchronicities. And this collective, you need to be very, 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 very clear about it. Okay. You need to ask for very specific signs. Don't go, I need a sign from spirit, because you can interpret literally anything. I can take this cup that has a chickadee on it, and you can be like, oh, I saw a chickadee. That's my sign from spirit. And they're all people who do that. And they're all people who say that, oh, well, it doesn't matter how it comes across. If you ask for a sign from spirit of a chickadee, then there's going to be the chickadees on the cup. That's your sign from spirit. I don't necessarily believe that. Okay, I think that when you're asking for a sign, it has to be very specific. It has to be, I want the chickadee, a black-capped chickadee, because understand that there's different types of chickadees. If you're a bird person, you know. I want a black-capped chickadee, and I want that chickadee to fly right in front of me and land in front of me and pointedly look at me, and that's going to be my sign from spirit. And that's my sign of either this person or this ancestor or this guide, whatever the situation is. Again, like, this is a general reading, so it could apply in all of those areas, and it could also apply in none of those areas and some plan D area that I didn't name. But having it very, very specific like that. Now, obviously, if your sign is something like I want to see a dragon, obviously a dragon's not going to show up in front of your house, unfortunately. So you have to modify. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that just because you said, oh, I want to see a sign of a bird, and now I've got a bird on my mug in this reading, that's your sign. That's I disagree with. I think that that's a really cheap way that intuitive people use to almost manipulate their readings. Again, I'm kind of going on a lot of tangents here, right? Like, there's got to be something. I'm telling a lot of stories and a lot of this collective. Maybe when the reading starts, when I turn the camera on, hold on. When I turn the camera on, everything that happens, okay, that's a sign. Everything that happens, I set the intention before the camera goes on that everything that happens from the time I press record to the time I stop pressing recording is part of the reading. So anything I say, anything I do, anything I bring up has some sort of meaning to the collective that's in the reading. And that's my intention every single reading. There's a few exceptions to that, and I clarify those exceptions usually at the beginning of the reading. And but generally, as a general rule, when I sit down to do readings, that's the rule. And I find it very interesting. I feel like this collective has a lot to say, but hasn't been allowed to say it. This collective, you've got a lot to say. And this Eight of Challenges, this imagery here, you haven't been able to say it. You've almost been like, it's almost been like you've been told like you're not allowed your own thoughts. Like, it doesn't matter. You might have dealt with like kind of this narcissistic personality type. You might have dealt with really controlling people. Some of you might have been, unfortunately, in abusive relationships of some sort, emotionally controlling or emotionally abusive relationships. You might have had a lot of coping mechanisms, playing with your hair. Okay, twirling of the hair. I'm seeing some people are like twirling their hair a lot, or they're like fixing their hair, you know, fixing. I've got to be proper. I've got to fix my clothes. It's not OCD, because OCD, again, is an actual diagnosis that has very real ramifications. But it's like this need to, okay, I have to sit a certain way, and I've got to talk a certain way, and I've got to cock my head a certain way, like. And this collective is trying to break out of that conditioning that you were raised with. You're trying to be like, okay, well, if my hair isn't perfect, it's okay. I can send it back. I didn't even brush my hair, guys. No joke, okay? You know, if my hair isn't exactly, it's fine. If my hair is like this, it's fine. You know, if my clothes is a little bit wrinkled, okay, I'm not going to need to go like this and straighten it out. It's fine. There's this like transition that's occurring, right? This card here also, I feel like this collective has to do a lot of childhood healing. Yeah. This collective, I feel like you really have a lot of ish that in your upbringing, you're working on sorting out right now, okay? And you're working on building, you're working on doing things. You've had stuff quite literally stolen from you with this collective. I'm hearing stolen childhood, all right? Stolen innocence for some of you. That's going to trigger, that phrasing is going to trigger some people in this collective. Stolen innocence. That phrasing is going to trigger some people. That sucks. I don't want to get into that, honestly. So I'm not going to. But yeah, this collective, look at, okay, this card here. You guys are meant to have really nice, long lasting lives and building a life that you're proud of. That's this collective. That's what this collective is going to be really good at. That's what you're working towards. That's what you're aiming towards, right? And it's really, as cliche as it's going to sound, it's the journey, not the destination, right? It's building the things up. Okay. As I said, it's building the things up. I really got this image of someone in this collective who is almost being like mocked for wanting the simple things, right? Like, what do you mean you don't want the big car or the big house and the nice car? Okay, interesting. What do you mean you don't want that? What do you mean you don't want your version of life is so different? What do you mean that's what you want? You just want to have a modest little house? That's all you want? You don't want these big dreams? I didn't raise you like that. That phrasing also is going to trigger some of you. Oh, I didn't like that energy that came through. I didn't raise you like that. Okay, this like blaming type of energy, right? You've got the Wheel of Fortune and the Higher Priestess. You've also got the Three of Cups reversed, and you've got the Ten of Pentacles reversed. This is where I'm feeling that this Ten of Pentacles reversed. I really want to explain something with this collective. It's not that you're not worthy of this. It's in fact the opposite. Okay, it's not that you're not worthy of this type of lifestyle. It's that your version of this doesn't match the version that you were conditioned you needed to have. Your version of this Ten of Pentacles wasn't this like big mansion with loads of kids and being married, you're with a dog, like this wasn't your dream. Your dream looks different, and there's people in your life that can't manage that. There's people in your upbringing, in your past, in your family, in your friends. I'm also hearing frenemies, okay, that you can't deal with that. They can't manage that. They don't know how to reconcile in their brain. Again, I didn't raise you like that. That mentality is really coming through. That blame game is really coming through here, right? This Wheel of Fortune card is things are always turning and always changing, and you do well to remember that. Okay, you do well to remember that things are always changing. This collective, as I'm saying that, I'm really getting the feeling that you have been taught that change is not a good thing. Like, it was almost like you were told that change is not something that you should be looking forward to. You shouldn't want change. There's this resistance as I'm looking and I'm pulling up this card and I'm talking about change, and change in this more positive aspect where this collective is like, whoa, no, change. We don't change. Okay, that's not a thing. We are this way. This is how, a lot of this comes from emotional immaturity. A lot of the people in this collective were raised with really emotionally immature parents, or just immature siblings, immature guardians. Maybe grandparents might be significant for some, or like some sort of like extended family, like aunts, uncles, things like that. But there's this like almost, there's this, it's really weird. It's not that you weren't told that people don't change. It was that you were told that people, that you shouldn't change, or that we don't need to change because this is the proper way to live your life. This is this is the things you should want. It was used as a control tactic. I'm going to be brutally honest for a minute. this collective, you've got a lot that you need to unpack. If you're not in therapy, I honestly would recommend that you do go to therapy. This collective, like, you need to have some really difficult conversations with someone who's a professional. You don't need tarot readings. Well, okay. You don't need a more psychic advice. You don't need another mediumship reading. You don't need another tarot reading. What you need is to do physical work. You need to do the ugly, emotional, psychological work. That's what this collective needs. You don't need another tarot reading. You don't need a layout. You don't need to be told about your life and your upbringing and your trauma and the emotional maturity and your family and all. That's not what this collective needs. This collective needs to actually invest their money in like therapy, like in however that looks to you, but in therapy. Okay. And I'm not talking about the fun, oh, let's do shopping therapy. I'm talking about actual therapy. Why am I harping on this so much? What do you need to unpack about therapy? Why is there resistance to this? I'm not even going to answer that. Why is there resistance to this? Why is there resistance to the idea of therapy? As I'm saying therapy, they're showing me like, oh, I'm doing therapy. I'm doing shopping therapy. I'm doing spiritual therapy because I'm paying for readings and I'm paying for psychic and I'm paying for mediumship. I'm doing spiritual development. I'm doing my therapy. But you're avoiding all of the actual hard work. And I'm not going to lie to you. I've been through ish that would make people would not have lasted a day in my shoes living through some of the shit that I've lived through. Okay. And it is hard work. I'm not going to sit here and be like, first off, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you that this is some easy thing that can be fixed in like a week. This collective has a lot to unpack. Like the further I'm talking, as I'm talking more and more and more, there is so much that keeps coming through with the energy in this collective regarding your voice not being allowed, regarding the way you presented yourself, how you were allowed to dress. There's this huge control aspect. There's issues with some of the people in this collective regarding health and eating disorder type behavior. There's this perception, there's this resistance to change because you don't need to change because this is just how you live your life, and change is not a good thing, it's a bad thing, it's something that should be feared. There's a lot of fear that is controlling this collective. Okay, doing things yourself. There's not this unity here, Three of Cups reversed. There's not this unity that's here. It's this, oh, I just need to do it myself. We don't trust other people. We don't trust outsiders. We don't trust outsiders. Yeah. There's so much to unpack. And honestly, you're not going to get your answers here. The answer isn't here. You need to do you need to stop bypassing the difficult emotional work. Okay. Yeah, now we're getting to the core of this. You need to start, yeah. This is the Lovers card, but I'm looking at the imagery here. I'm going to ignore that it says the Lovers. I just want to look. There's this unity that needs to happen between your emotional self and your physical self. And right now, that's not there. And this collective, you've been told that that's okay. You've been told that it's all right that it's not there. It's fine. It's okay. Okay, you've got the Death card reversed. There's a resistance to change. Huge resistance to change with that card coming up the way it did. Huge resistance to change. There's going to be a moment if this continues. It's going to be what's that phrase? The straw that broke the camel's back. It's going to be a moment like that. And it will destroy you. Because you don't have the tools emotionally, physically, mentally to manage anything major. And no, this is not coming from a place of judgment. I hate that I have to say this. This collective, you have been so ingrained in you that any level of criticism is not yours to have. Any level of emotional anything is not yours to have. Any level of any of this is not yours to have. And that's so not true. It is so not true. Oh man. I do tarot readings on this channel. I don't feel like this needs to be a tarot reading. I feel like you need to do a therapy session. I feel like you need to sit with someone who's going to be real with you. Here's the thing. I'm getting to... Oh, fuck. Some of you are watching this and you're going, oh, I did the therapy. I have a therapist. I've been doing therapy. What are you talking about? You're not really doing therapy. You're wasting your money. Real therapy is going to challenge you. It's going to make you uncomfortable. Real therapy isn't going to validate every single aspect of your life. That's not real therapy. That's therapy grifting. And unfortunately, it's really, really common. And it's one of the reasons that I think therapy and the psychology industry in general gets such a bad rap, is because there is so much grifting in it, where people will just go on and on and on and kind of not address the actual issue. Because if they address the issue that you actually showed up to the therapy session for, then there's this fear that they're going to lose money because you're not going to need the therapist anymore, forgetting that there's always going to be someone else who needs therapy. This collective, you're doing the motions, but you're not moving forward. You're doing the motions, but you're not moving forward because you're not investing in the proper things. I'm not a therapist. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, but I'm not a therapist. I don't want to pull more cards. Because you don't need that. This collective doesn't need... This collective, you don't need this reading. You need to do the work. I just pulled from my other deck here and I got the 10 of Cups upright. As I said, so we've got the 10 of Cups reversed and we've got the 10 of Pentacles, reversed, and the 10 of Cups upright. And what I find really interesting about this is both of these cards, both of these 10s deal with completion, but your Cups deals with your emotional state. And so the 10 of Cups upright is emotional healing, unity, understanding, feeling emotionally fulfilled, truly emotionally fulfilled, which this collective doesn't know what that is yet. Yeah, I'm just being reminded to say again that this collective, you don't need another reading. You don't need the shopping. You don't need the fast food. You don't need the superficial self-care. You need to have the gnarly self-care. You need to go through the gnarly uncomfortable part of healing. Healing is not pretty. It is not. This whole spiritual thing that honestly pisses me off, and I could do a whole rant about it, and I probably will at some point, about healing being this nice lovey-dovey thing and all love and light and all. It's fucking bullshit. Real healing is gnarly. It's nasty. It is uncomfortable. It is gross. It is you waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning with sobbing your eyes out and snot running out of your face and your eyes are all red and puffy. That's the real healing. It is not this nice lovey-dovey self-care. Oh, just take a bubble bath and all your problems are going to go away. That's not healing. And this collective feels like you've almost bought into that. And what you've done is you've layered and you've layered and you've layered and you've layered all of these other stories on top so that you can avoid dealing with the root problem. So you can avoid dealing with the root issue. And the huge message here, now that I've unraveled all of these different layers, right, is you've got the power to be a very powerful, intuitive person. You've got that in you. You've got that potential. But no one can truly be intuitive until they deal with their ish. Until they deal with their crap. You're not going to tap into true intuition until you do that. And you're not going to find it in another reading. And you're not going to find it in this reading. I'm going to leave it there because this is a long reading that basically just boils down to this collective needing to understand that you need to do the work. And you need to do the hard work, the difficult work that you don't want to do. None of us want to do it, but it's necessary for our personal development. It's necessary for change. It's necessary to remove these blockages. Till my next reading. Bye.